Well, it's the weekend again, and of course, that's the time that all the movies come out, and we send somebody out to the movies to watch them so you don't have to. His name is Michael Snyder, and he's all the way out there on the left coast. Hello, Michael. How are you?
I'm fine, Alex, and it's great to hear the cool jazz, befitting the fact that I'm in Los Angeles at the moment. That L.A. 50s cool jazz sounds so, cool. But we've got a lot of heat because one of the big blockbusters is coming out this weekend. And we have a few other films to catch up to. Mm-hmm. And I just want to remind people that they can follow me on Twitter at Culture Blaster and at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page on Facebook before we even get started. So it's not, I don't want it to be an afterthought. I just don't want it to be, a postscript. But there you go. Okay. So you like monster movies?
No, not really, because they're always destroying the same city.
Well, then get ready, because your hometown takes a beating in Godzilla.
Well, it did the last time there was a American-made Godzilla. Every time we turn around, they're destroying New York City. I don't know. Aren't there other cities in the United States? Couldn't they destroy Miami? I'd root for Godzilla then.
No. Now, Godzilla, the weird quasi-lizard dinosaur crap fest, directed by Roland Emmerich, he destroys New York. But in this case, Godzilla visits the West Coast and takes on your hometown, San Francisco. And so it's a little different. But then again, the previous giant monster film, the work of the great Mexican director Guillermo del Toro, Pacific Rim, which had mixed reviews and which I liked very much, which was giant monsters, a.k.a. kaiju, the Japanese word for them, because it's been a tradition since the original Godzilla film in the early 50s for them to make these movies. The kaiju fight against giant man-controlled robots in that one. In this case,
you know something?
Godzilla.
I really wanted to like that picture.
Right.
And I couldn't. I just couldn't.
Well, I enjoyed it. These are B movies.
This is a perfect example of a movie. I was talking about this the other night on the show. Of movies that you go to that you really want them to be good, and then they're not, and it's such a disappointment when they're not. It had Idris Elba in it. It had Guillermo del Toro writing and directing it. I mean, it had everything going for it, except it wasn't a good movie.
Well, I enjoyed it for the spectacle and the fact that, when we talk about this, computer-generated graphics and animation on its own, no matter how sophisticated, is useless without a good story or some incredible visual sweep that is so amazing that you're dazzled by it. But now it's become the convention. And in the case of Pacific Rim, I enjoyed it for what it was, an homage to those Japanese B-movie science fiction films of the 50s and 60s. But Godzilla has a little more depth to it. Historically speaking, the original Toho production of Godzilla, which did not feature inserts with Raymond Burr spouting English, as the American version of that early 50s movie did, it actually dealt with the repercussions of World War II, of the nuclear bombs being dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The creature was awakened from its slumber and powered by nuclear energy. It had subtext for days. And eventually he became kind of this weird, giant, scaly superhero in the succeeding films. In this case, it gets back to a kind of and I say this with my tongue firmly in cheek, a kind of plausibility. They have backstory. They have pretty terrific actors who don't have a whole lot to do, but when they are on screen, you're rooting for them. And it has the epic sweep that great computer-generated graphics can offer if you have the panorama, if you have a cool story. And ultimately, it's still a B movie. But it's a B movie about a giant lizard and the balance of nature and creatures that have been awakened by man's folly, and some really cool actors in Breaking Bad's very own Bryan Cranston, who plays a guy who runs a nuclear reactor about 15 years ago where something terrible goes wrong. His wife is played by Juliette Binoche. His grown son is Aaron Taylor Johnson. The son's wife is Elizabeth Olsen. You have Ken Watanabe, Oscar nominated for The Last Samurai as a Japanese scientist. Talk about killing a fly with an atom bomb. You have Sally Hawkins, the great British actress, in a supporting role as the Watanabe character's assistant. But they're all there. They're all cashing a paycheck. And all around them is UK director Gareth Edwards' giant monster film. And it's actually incredibly entertaining. For a guy like me, I was very satisfied by it. I didn't think it was, this sort of piss poor Xerox that was done by Roland Emmerich. And Gareth Edwards, this is his second major film. His first film, oddly enough, Monsters, is all about giant monsters actually tearing up Mexico. And it's a terrific B movie as well, made on a shoestring, but so beautifully done. And again, very personal, much more personal than Godzilla. Because in Godzilla, you do have to have the destruction of gigantic, massive skyscrapers and what have you to actually hit the right notes with a project like this. But I totally enjoyed this film. And if you like this kind of thing, and a lot of people do, I think you're going to get a kick out of it. And I may recommend people seek out a video, a stream, or a DVD of Monsters. The film is really cool. Gareth Edwards, the director, will probably not be making a science fiction film next because he's made these two back to back. But I totally dug Godzilla, if I may.
Okay, can we get on to other stuff?
That's the intention. I just wanted to get it all out. I just had to get the word out. Okay, so how about going to something totally different, $1 Million Arm, which is a movie based on a true story. Boy, I'm really so tired of those words somehow. But John Hamm plays a once successful sports agent named J.B. Bernstein, a real guy, by the way, who used to manage at some point Barry Bonds, among other athletes. He's the guy who finds himself sort of screwed because he's being trumped on every corner by corporate sports agencies. He can't get a client. He's freaking out. He decides, for some reason, after watching cricket being played in India on television, to go to India and find one of these cricket pitchers and maybe convert them into a baseball pitcher. And he has a bit of a competition in India, comes up with two guys, brings them back to L.A., and begins training them with the intent of having them kind of compete and perform for scouts and get some kind of, professional baseball contract. So it's a real story. It's a true story. John Hamm as the agent, pretty good. As his assistant, Asif Mandavi, or Manvi, whatever you pronounce his last name as. Alan Arkin as a scout.
It's Asif Manvi. If you watch The Daily Show, you would know that.
Well, I don't. Anyway, Alan Arkin is a scout, and it's sweet. But when you find out that obviously they fictionalized it and made it a little more grandiose for movie consumption, and it is a Disney film, and it fits a kind of pattern for sports underdogs, and I felt a little kind of manipulated. I didn't think it was great, but there's a certain charm to John Hamm, and these guys who played the wannabe pitchers are pretty terrific. Not household names at all. Bill Paxton's in it as a coach. Lake Bell is the love interest. Not bad, but I mean, not great. I can't just. I'm not standing up and cheering. But $1 Million Arm will appeal to some, and it is kind of family friendly to an extent. Okay, how about a better movie? James Gray is a very is a director and writer who keeps his own counsel. He makes films when he feels the mood, and he makes films that are dark and generally rife with human drama. He's made The Yards, We Own the Night, Two Lovers, all films I liked, and all films that actually feature Joaquin Phoenix, who's maybe his male muse. In this case, The Immigrant is all about a Polish couple of sisters, one played by Marion Cotillard, who come to New York in the 1920s from Poland to Ellis Island to get started again. And when they find out that the sister is ill, she's kept at Ellis Island, and a series of misfortunes befall Ava, the Cotillard character, and she has to rely on Joaquin Phoenix's manipulative, burlesque producer. And it's the effects are wonderful, the visuals are beautiful. I have to tell you, I was caught up in the whole thing. I thought it was very moving, a little long, but beautifully executed on all fronts. The acting, the art direction, the script. James Gray is, he's an iconoclast. He makes films the way he wants to make them, and this one is a very, very good movie. Jeremy Renner plays a part of the love triangle with Phoenix and Cotillard. I don't want to get into the details, but I thought The Immigrant was very, very good. Chef appeals to the foodie in me, and it's I found to be a very charming film about a guy inspired by a real guy. I think his name is Roy. I can't even remember his last name, but he's a Los Angeles chef of Korean descent who got his food truck business up and running. Roy Aoki, I think is his name, and Jon Favreau wrote and directed this movie and stars in it as Carl Casper, who gets in Dutch with the guy who runs his restaurant, played by Dustin Hoffman, and doesn't know what he's going to do. And he ends up trying to launch a food truck with the assistance of his sous chef, John Leguizamo, with the financial help of Sofia Vergara, his ex-wife, and an old husband of hers, played by Robert Downey Jr., and they go on the road to try to get this food truck up and running from Miami back to Los Angeles. And, the close-ups of the food and the process and whatever are so much better to me than a film like Tasting Menu, where you got none of that food porn. At least in this film, in Chef, you get a little food porn, you get a lot of charm. You got the
nobody
bombing.
here has ever heard of Tasting Menu.
We talked about it last week. Thanks for paying attention.
Well, I fell asleep somewhere along the line.
That's the way you are. Yeah. So, what did you think of Chef? I think you went out to see it.
Yeah, no, it's terrific. It's a wonderful love poem to food. I said to Marjorie that it's a movie you can eat. It really is just we were just taken back by the way in which the food was photographed, but the plot is also very serviceable. Favreau is terrific. And who amazed me was Sofia Vergara, who shed that dopey character that she plays on Modern Family long enough to play a very creditable wife, and really did a very nice job in this picture.
You also get Bobby Cannavale as an assistant chef in this thing. You get Oliver Platt as a food critic who ends up being a catalyst for everything that happens. I thought the cast was great. I thought it beautifully shot. Like I said, food porn. Oh man, it looks so good watching him make those dishes. And one more quick note, kind of thrilling on some level, that a bit of an Iron Man reunion. With Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson, a.k.a. the Black Widow in the Avengers films, as the hostess at Favreau's restaurant. Sweet and charming from the get-go. Love this film.
It's a great little film. And it won the Tribeca Film Festival, won an award there. So.
Well, rightly so.
Good film.
Let me run through a couple things we just want to do a little catch up on. The Double, I finally caught up to it. It is an adaptation of Fyodor Dostoevsky's story, done by Richard Ayoade, who is a British comic actor and filmmaker, and he's had very limited exposure in the States. He did that awful Neighborhood Watch film with Ben Stiller. The Double is a very dark dystopian look at a kind of a nebbish played by Jesse Eisenberg, who works in a very depressing, dank place, yearns for the girl across the way, who also is a coworker, played by Mia Wasikowska, and then finds his exact double coming to work at the same office that he's at and trumping his every move. I thought it was very cool, very well done, and kind of a weird 1984 retro future look that appealed to me in a big way. Also among the supporting actors, Wallace Shawn and James Fox, Paddy Considine, again Sally Hawkins in a tiny role, and the great Irish comedian Chris O'Dowd. Blink and you'll miss him in this, but I thought The Double was very cool and something you could watch on video and get a big kick out of.
Okay.
Finally, one of the last films featuring Philip Seymour Hoffman. I didn't think it was as great. It was sort of a conventional melodramatic potboiler about neighborhood life and losers, called God's Pocket. I think God's Pocket is I believe it's supposed to be a part of the Philadelphia working class districts, but he's a guy named Mickey whose stepson is killed in a construction accident, and his wife, the mother of the kid, is distraught. She's played by Christina Hendricks from Mad Men, and she says there's something wrong. They lied about how the guy was hurt, and it's up to Mickey to kind of figure it all out. Supporting players in this one, by the way, directed by John Slattery from Mad Men. You get Richard Jenkins, John Turturro, Eddie Marsan, who you may know of from Ray Donovan, playing the brother with the kind of brain, the tremors and what have you. A pretty solid cast, and it's so much fun watching great actors work that even if something's a little bit on the cliched side, you kind of get caught up in it if you're me. And I thought that, homage to Philip Seymour Hoffman, terrific actor, taken too early, and he's very good in this. Everyone's at the top of their game. I wish the actual property was a little better. Finally, I know you hate the French, Alex, but Chinese Puzzle is the third of a trilogy by the French director Cedric Klapisch about this one guy. The first film was called, what was it called? It was called Auberge Espagnole, I think, something like that. The second one was called, what was it called?
Okay, whatever.
And
Get on with it.
Chinese Puzzle. Yeah, you don't know or care about this stuff. But
no, and when we get to the movies that none of the people listening to this review
Audrey
are going to go
Tautou is
see.
in this thing. Audrey Tautou, Romain Dory.
Oh, I never miss an Audrey Tautou movie.
That Tautou.
Who cares?
She's Amelie. All right, not for you.
Yeah,
Chinese
she was
Puzzle.
Amelie 20 years ago.
She's been in a lot of films since that you haven't paid any attention to. You Franco hater. Anyway, all right, that's it.
Oh, yeah, the Da Vinci Code. I think she was in that wonderful movie.
Hey, come on. It spawned mucho box office money. Yeah, Chinese Puzzle, Cedric Klapisch, same characters as the other two films. Not for you. What do you got? What's happening in television land?
Nothing.
Buddy?
It's dead. It's dead. It's dead season right now.
I enjoy 24, Live Another Day,
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's good. I'm enjoying it. And but I still think the best thing going is Fargo. Just terrific.
Big Emmy buzz out here in L.A. for that right now.
Yeah, well, who cares what L.A. thinks with their Emmy buzz,
Hey, I'm just telling you, at least we didn't get destroyed by Godzilla this time.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's it.
Hey, have a nice week. You're going to Las Vegas, you say, and have a good time there. And then we'll see you again next week, once again, when you review the movies with your Culture Blast. Michael Snyder, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome.